Hey everyone, it's Stephanie here with Infernal TV, and I'm here right now with the legendary Angel Vivaldi. So how are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you doing there?
I'm doing great, thank you for asking.
Yes, glad to hear it.
Alrighty, well, let's talk about Synapse. I mean, we'll go into the concept and everything of the album in a little bit, but right now I just want to ask, what are you anticipating from the fans? I mean, the album's going to be released on October 6th. It's only a few weeks away. It's coming up really soon.
Yeah, it really is. It kind of just snuck up on me. I had a moment to stop and smell the roses maybe 2 days ago. I'm like, oh my god, wait, it's going to be out in like a few weeks. After so many years of working on it, because I definitely don't churn out music like every year like most artists. It definitely takes me a while, and it definitely was a while in the making, only because it's a very dense concept record. But yeah, we're definitely coming up on a few weeks here, so it's very exciting.
Oh yeah, most definitely. And well, today I noticed that in my inbox, your publicist sent me a press release that you just released a concept video discussing, Synapse and I guess all of the different factors that contributed to the writing and all your different influences. So, I mean, it definitely seems like a very diverse album, and you're kind of going into, I don't want to say a different direction, but you're definitely taking a lot more depth than I personally think a lot of other musicians do when they write new music. So, I guess just kind of go into what you... I mean, I know, like you mentioned, colors, and that you redecorated and repainted your studio a bunch of times for this album. So I guess just kind of talk about the mental process, the physical process, and also some of the writing that you did for making this album.
Yeah, absolutely. So typically, I'd say a bulk of my records are all concept records in some, capacity or another. This one was definitely, I think, the most ambitious undertaking, only because I really found myself being honest with what inspires me the most. So, and I think the other reason why it takes me so long to write material is because I don't like to force inspiration. If I'm not in the headspace to write, I don't like to force it. Now, there's something to forcing it, sometimes out of that frustration, some beautiful work can come out, but it's a fighting process, and I'm not a fighter. I like things to come very calm and peacefully, so I figured what can I do to really surround myself with constant inspiration, but not a same type of inspiration that's going to leak into making two songs sounding the same. So in my research and just, I guess, inner searchings and findings, I found that one of the things I love most is interior design, and how sensitive I am whenever I've moved from apartment or houses, or redecorated my living space or anything like that. I always pick up a guitar and things just flow out. It's very natural. Nothing I really have to fight for. So granted, I mean, it may have been over the top process to do, but it really did work out, and it served as a constant reminder. When I painted it blue for adenosine, which is the sleeping molecule. Having blue painted right in front of me was a constant reminder, this is your intention for this song. When I had red for adrenaline, it was like, this is your intention for this song. So, I think as musicians, we're flighty. It's difficult to maintain a sense of intention, because one day you might feel one way, another day you might feel a different way. So it was a nice way to keep consistent with each theme, doing it that way. So it worked out, I feel.
Nice, and that's definitely interesting. I like how you mentioned specifically that, you don't want to write unless you are inspired, and that, just going into that you don't want albums to be rushed, because I think that's, anybody in any kind of art form, whether it's music or film or writing, or I think all artists kind of deal with that struggle. So I definitely think that you went about it kind of using your own interests and interior design and kind of creating an environment for yourself. So I definitely think that's something that a lot of musicians could probably take into consideration and can take influence from.
Yeah, I mean, we're all parts of our environments, whether we're, children growing up, we always take our experiences from those periods of our life into our adulthood. And then, the only difference with adulthood is that you have more control over it than you do when you were a kid. So, I definitely think that, whether you do it this method or a different method, or even just, it was a little bit deeper than that. Like, there's certain, when I had adrenaline, for instance, there was a candle that I burned that also stimulated the smell, So now every time I smell this candle in my house, I think of the songwriting process for adrenaline. And yeah, it was just like little things. I kind of infused my lifestyle into it as well. Like, serotonin I'd only write when the sun was out. Dopamine I'd only write at night. So it was little things like that that kind of snowballed the whole concept beyond just interior design. I really infused, like, it was a back and forth with my lifestyle affecting the songs and the songs affecting my lifestyle. Carrying them with me. On my phone, for instance, I had my wallpaper when I was writing the song, because there's a piece of artwork in the packaging that's associated with every neurotransmitter or every color. And I made sure to put that wallpaper on my phone. So every time I went to unlock my phone, I saw the artwork for, dopamine, or I saw the artwork for endorphin. So it was like a constant reminder, So it was really, it was kind of exhausting too, kind of always seeing it, always being reminded that you're in this project. But it was really a matter of just immersing myself fully, 100%,
Right, most definitely. And when I was listening to some of the material that you've already released, and the only thing I can think of is, wow, this is, like, as far as an instrumental project, that this is far more different than anything I've ever heard. And then when I started to really research into, your writing style personally with all your albums, and then with this album in particular, I feel like you go a lot more depth rather than a lot of other musicians who just, want to shred and solo and everything. Rather obviously you definitely have a lot of dexterity in your music, but you also want to focus more on the feeling and the inspiration. And I think that's where you're kind of taking your listener on a journey, or you're kind of wanting them to be in an environment. And I think that's really, at least for me, that's what I experienced when I was listening to Synapse. So I'm not sure if that's the goal that you wanted, but I could definitely, like, especially when you were discussing kind of some of the, like the measures that you took to, like, surround yourself with all of your influences. And that's definitely the reaction that I took from it.
No, and it puts a smile on my face to hear it, because that's exactly what it is. At the end of the day, there's only so much. With instrumental music, it's very up to the interpretation of the end listener. Really, one song that could have been written for a relationship ending on my end could be about someone's dog dying, or about having a bad day at work, or getting fired, or anything like that. There's no words to dictate how to feel about a particular song, and that's the real beauty of classical music or instrumental music in general. But I think with this one, I think now that people understand the concept, and they really can tap into the intention of every song and really see how it translates, not only through, me obviously telling them, but through the artwork itself, through the music videos that I have released, and ones that I'm currently working on. It really, like, Serotonin, that music video, which we're going to be releasing in a few weeks, it's a party. It's a party. Watching it's really put people in a good mood, and everyone I've showed that video to, like, they're watching it with a smile on their face. It's definitely very uplifting. And whereas dopamine, it really tells the tale of how we constantly, indulge a little bit too much, much to our downfall. So if anyone watches the music video of that, they'll see, like, a male and female figure, very just indulging in lust, and again, ultimately to their downfall. So yeah, it's really runs rampant throughout the entire process, and everything that the album touches, it has an authenticity to really support the intention. So that's another thing I think that is a matter of stimulating the senses beyond just audio. The visuals. For tour, we're also going to be doing a few interesting things to kind of immerse, the audience into a different experience that maybe hasn't really been done before, or hasn't been done lately. But I won't spoil that surprise here.
Nice. Well, I'll definitely ask more questions about your tour coming up, but I have a couple other questions for Synapse. I do want to ask about some of your more musical influences, because when I was just going back through some of your older interviews, and you were mentioning specific genres you were listening to at the time. I know in one you mentioned a lot of like world music, and I've heard like another one you're talking about jazz. So for this album, were you kind of listening to some of the same material, or are you listening to some even more obscure music, or what do you have to say about that?
Yeah, the interesting thing was, you're right, and definitely in past interviews, I can tell you right now, for back when I did Speed of Dark in 2009, it was very much influenced by the new wave of heavy metal, like Killswitch Engage, August Burns Red, All That Remains, and it's very evident there. Universal Language was very influenced by the modern progressive metal, or gent, would you say, like After the Burial, Periphery, those guys. And then once I got to Away with Words, I just kind of stopped listening to that type of music. I just started listening to more, again, like world music and jazz. And but from a very sort of ignorant standpoint, I mean, I don't necessarily play jazz well. It's one of those genres where I just have to sit back and be ignorant enough not to be able to analyze it. Just to enjoy it for what it is. But from Away with Words, the last release, and this one, I mean, I very much kind of just stuck with my own style, not really having any outside influence aside from, the concept itself and the intention. So I think I just feel like once I did Away with Words, I found my sound, and I haven't had any need for any outside influence, personally. But that's not to say in the future that definitely won't change, because there's always new material coming out these days. It's very, I would say inspiring to write, but not necessarily influential. You understand what,
Right. Interesting. Awesome. And now I want to go into some of the guest appearances that you have. I'll let you discuss who all is on your album, and I guess kind of how you collaborated personally with a lot of the musicians on this on Synapse.
Yeah. The funny thing is, I've never been an artist to have a lot of guests, features on my records. But this time, again, because I've had such profound relationships with different people and musicians over the past few years, I just remember hearing sections of songs and just kind of hearing their energy in it, and so it wasn't a matter of like, oh, this person can play, let me just throw them on here. It was very strategic. I definitely wanted for instance, Serotonin, which is, again, a very uplifting, party, fun, loose, kind of energy. I wanted Nita Strauss because that's been our dynamic, just we're always having fun, we're always laughing, like belly laughing, we have the same type of humor, and she's a fantastic, one of the best performers behind the guitar. She plays with Alice Cooper, so he puts on a show.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they follow suit, so I definitely wanted her in it. And also take into consideration, I'm going to do videos for these songs. So that worked out great. Gus G, who did Oxytocin, which is the bonding molecule. Now, when you tour with someone, and we shared a tour bus on our last North American tour, you really bond, it's like a tour family, and you really truly bond with these people, because you're roommates for a month. And we had such a wonderful relationship, and this particular song, which is perfect because it's ferocious, it is fast, and I just knew he was the perfect, and literally every note that I felt in my gut that I wanted, he literally hit it, like, with the perfect execution. It is phenomenal. He just nailed it. And then Dopamine, I've been a fan of Oli Herbert, oh my god, since like 2008, like when I first did my first record, and we befriended each other through mutual friends some years ago, and I love his playing style. And the particular riff that I had him solo over was very reminiscent to his style. And when I hit him up to do it, he's like, oh my god, yes, let's this is perfect, this is easy to play over. And I knew that he wasn't going to struggle over it either. So everything was very strategic, a lot of people just kind of like, hey, because listen, guitar players these days, they're growing trees, And Everyone plays incredibly well, just and it's inspiring to me as well as a player to keep pushing myself. But I didn't want to just senselessly.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Just throw them into the into the mix of an album for the sake of it. I really wanted them to have fun, to have their authenticity translate, and just do what's appropriate. And and then there was also one other guest solo that I had with a friend of mine. He's actually a local artist. His name is Julian C. Fuentes, he's a younger shredder, and he played over Adrenaline, which again was very strategic because this kid can play, and he's extremely fast and extremely clean, and I wanted that very youthful energy, infused in that song. So, and he did another phenomenal job. He really delivered what the song needed. So, but yeah, overall, it was a very smooth process. I can't be happier with it. It's great.
Well, you actually ended up answering 2 questions with that one question, because my next question was how you collaborate so well with these guitarists, because you all have different, playing styles, but you definitely, I do like how you mentioned, for example, the song Serotonin, you got Nita Strauss, because, you have so many good memories with her, and that you two get along really well, and you laugh and you joke. And then when you're talking about Gus G, that because his playing style is absolutely crazy, so there's a lot of high energy, adrenaline with that playing. So and I guess going back to how you're writing, it takes a lot more depth. It's not just like you said, it's not like, oh well, these people can play. It's just you're really kind of honing in on the connection that you have and the connection that they can bring to your music.
Right, exactly. That's pretty much dead on the money.
All right, awesome. Well, then let's, I guess, go back into another one of the artists that you collaborated with, Andy James, and going into the Wave of Synergy tour. It's going to be starting in, pretty much just a few days, right? You're in the UK now, so...
Yeah, and that's another thing that kind of snuck up on me. Oh crap! The tour's in 2 days. Yeah, we're here in the UK. We're doing rehearsals. I have Mr. Mike Mallion to be playing drums. Very excited.
Nice.
With, Monuments and Disperse, and just a tremendous force behind the kit. So that's also very exciting. And yeah, Andy, my God. I can remember back when I first started, maybe like 2008. Well, not when I first started, but when my first album popped off, like 2009, 10. He had I kept hearing his name through YouTube comments, like, "Oh, you have to do something with Andy James, and and probably the same thing on his end because our styles are sort of similar. And we had, over the years, we have mutual friends as well, and I decided to reach out, like, hey, man, let's be bros and let's maybe talk about a tour. And he was, he obliged very quickly. He's like, yeah, man, let's do it, and just a bunch of, just Skype hangouts, playing guitar and just talking shit. And like he's just, we're very kindred spirits, and we got along beautifully. And what a player, my God! I mean, he's terrifying guitar player. And yeah, so we came up with this tour, and just to kind of follow the heat of our fans, to collaborate together. Well, I was like, well, actually, he said to me, he's like, why don't we do a song together? I guess it was kind of planned for down the road, but I was like, what if we did it to push the tour? And he just so happened to be in the New York area before the tour happened. So I figured, why don't you come to my studio and we can shoot a really cool video for it, which is what we did. And fans are flipping out. Like, it's doing so well. It's at like 300,000 views in just like a few weeks. And
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, we couldn't be more grateful. It's doing very well. And yeah, it's just like a perfect tour package. I think from what we've seen online, fans are like, this is like the dream tour I've always wanted to see, and you're finally making it happen. So it's been very exciting. I cannot wait to hit the road with this guy. It's going to be amazing.
See, I think it's interesting how you're setting up tours like this, where you have you, and then you have like another guitarist joining you, and then you both like, it just seems like you're both pretty much just jamming together in front of a whole bunch of people, and I think that's really cool. I think that's kind of different than what a lot of music fans are used to, especially in regards to, those who play guitar or those who play an instrument, and they just want to watch, a virtuoso or another musician, and, be able to kind of see them up close and personal and learn from them. So I think it's really cool what you're doing.
Yeah, and I think the other aspect about it is learning from each other. There's things I learned from Gus that I took. Not necessarily his style so much, but just his approach, and his discipline. And same thing with Andy. Andy is, I haven't ever heard him play a bad note, ever, like he's such a tremendously disciplined player, and he is the instructional guy online. He's been for many years, so I guess you can't learn from anyone better than him. It's fantastic, or I guess my focus has always been, I guess not so much, obviously my music can be technical, but it's always been focused more on the songwriting aspect and kind of pushing that envelope a little bit. And there's usually like one or two songs on the record that kind of push my technical ability just a little bit, just so I don't slack in that realm. But yeah, there's definitely, I think, a nice wave of synergy with between how we kind of work together. So.
Nice. And well, when before the interview, I was watching just some of the footage that you did on one of your previous tours with Gus, and it just seemed like you played a whole bunch of different material. And what kind of material? What kind of material will you be playing with Andy? Will it be mainly some of the stuff that you've done, or some of the stuff that he's done, or kind of a combination, or what do you think?
Yeah, well, we have two different sets. We'll be alternating every night. So Andy will have about an hour set. I'll have an hour set, and then we are going to be performing that collaborative track that we did with Synergy on this tour as well, which I'm sure a lot of fans are very eager to see us do. But aside from that, there's nothing else planned as far as collaborations on this tour in particular. But that can change. For instance, with the Gus tour, we were two dates into the tour, and then we decided, hey, you want to do Crazy Train together? Yeah, sure, let's do it. You want to do this song together? Yeah, sure, But as of right now, yeah, that's pretty much it for my set. Of course, we'll be doing all the fan favorites, like A March in Winter, Mercury in Summer, Stuff Up a Rule with Words, and we definitely will. This will be the first time I'm actually playing any new material off of Synapse, which is very exciting and definitely very something special that only myself in Europe will have. So I'm very much looking forward to that as well.
Nice. And when I was just kind of scrolling through the comments on, I think it was on the Facebook page, there was like a comment from your fan page, and it said something like or share this if you want a U.S. tour. So do you think that the Wave of Synergy tour will be coming to the United States?
Yes.
Whoa.
I can't let my fans down like that. No, we're definitely working on something. Yeah, and if all goes well, I think that fans are going to be even more excited than just me and Andy. I won't say any more than that, but we're working on some very exciting things. But we'll definitely be hitting a U.S. tour. Not entirely sure when just yet, but we're working on something.
Nice. And you mentioned this a few questions back when you were talking about your collaborations, but I do want to touch on it that you said that you still challenge yourself. And you're looked at as one of the modern guitar virtuosos, but you're still saying, oh yeah, play with all these people, and I feel like I have to play better, or I feel like I have to challenge myself or whatever. So what I guess inspires you to keep doing better and to keep improving yourself when you're already looked at as one of the major guitar players in the industry?
Yeah, you know what I think it is? It's a matter of two things, I think. Well, first, I guess it depends, in a matter of speaking, what color you're pushing yourself in. For instance, are you pushing yourself from a technical aspect, or are you pushing yourself from a conceptual aspect, or are you pushing yourself from a technical aspect? So for myself, I think, obviously the songwriting challenges, we already discussed that with the concept, but technically, I mean, listen, again, I mean, if a car hits a tree, an amazing guitar player is going to fall out of it. They're everywhere. You type in the word shred in YouTube, and there's like 3-year-old babies, like little babies, doing amazing things behind the instrument. And, having a predominantly U.S. fan base, the U.S. is very flavor of the week, and I think that when you have the opportunity and which I'm very grateful for, to have a career doing this, I think you have to meet your talent halfway with hard work, across the board, conceptually, technically and songwriting. I think across the board, and I think that the artists who don't are the ones that fall behind, So, yeah, I think it's very important to really meet your talent halfway with hard work, because listen, not for nothing, but talent is everywhere, is evident, and that, modern guitar players are very much pushing the envelope and doing so many innovative things. But I think if you stay true to yourself, you're sincere with your intentions, and you continuously push yourself to better yourself, you're going to keep up, and you will have a lot of longevity in this career. But you need, again, to meet your talent halfway with a lot of dedication and a lot of honesty, too, a lot of self-awareness, which I talked about in that conceptual video. Without self-awareness, there's no way you're going to be able to examine what you're good at and not good at. So a lot of artists, they'll try to do something that they're not very good at, and they waste a lot of time, because it takes people years to figure out what they're good at sometimes, and what they're not good at. So I think that if you can self-examine yourself and just kind of be honest with that and work on your strengths enough to compensate for your weaknesses, you're going to be all right.
Nice. And, well, I know that you were mentioning the possibility of a U.S. tour, but is there anything for the future that you have planned, or anything maybe next year that you're working on?
As of right now, I think my main focus is really just filling out all the video content, because there's going to be a lot of it.
Oh, cool.
Videos are my heart, I mean, it's definitely, from a young age, it was Michael Jackson. Like watching his videos had a very just lifelong massive impact on kind of how I treat my art and present it and just brand it. So that's why a lot of my videos are really over the top, and they're huge, productions, because I feel like that's what my art deserves. So we released one video about a month ago for the single Dopamine. I have one for Serotonin coming out, I think a week before the record comes out, so maybe late September. And then I'm kind of planning to do one for each song,
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so that's going to be, and it's definitely very time-consuming, financial investment as well. So, just kind of pacing myself with that. I love touring, I love connecting with the fans, but aside from the hour I have on stage, it really is all it just kills me. I go through hell.
Totally understand. Now, for the videos, are you going to be directing all of them, or like writing all of them, producing them, or are you getting are you outsourcing other like filmmakers, or?
For my videos, I always come up with all the concepts. I tell them exactly what I want, and I take care of pretty much everything except for like shooting and editing the thing. So it's typical that for every album cycle, I kind of stick with one guy or one production team, because once they understand my style and the concept and the intention behind the songs, it just gets better and better and better with each video. So I'm working with Tom Flynn, who's a fantastic director, and he has his own production company out in New Jersey. He's just phenomenal, I can't say it, he's just great. I mean, if you look at his reel and any of his work, I mean, it stands on it. It says a lot on its own. So, but yeah, it definitely varies. I think it's just a matter of, again, just like the guest solos, having someone that's appropriate and also is pushing their art, Same thing with the artwork, I worked with this photographer out in Russia, and it was the most enriching experience working with someone who's as passionate about their art as I am about mine. I think that's where actually a lot of bands have issues, because you'll have a drummer that's kind of like putzing around, and then the guitarist who's working on their stuff and always bettering themselves, and then there's a disconnect because it's even a parallel in relationships and marriages. When the group or the collective does not grow together, they grow apart. So with anything that I do visually, I like to grow together with my director, and yeah, he'll point and shoot it, edit it, do the concepts, and fulfills my every desire. So I couldn't be more lucky.
Nice. And then here's the last question. Is there anything else that you want to add in this interview that maybe we didn't discuss or anything?
No, I think we pretty much covered all the bases. Very thorough.
Awesome. Well then, all right, everybody. Angel Vivaldi obviously has a lot going on. Check out Synapse when it comes out on October 6th. And Europe fans, definitely check out Angel and Andy when they come to your town. And seems like there's going to be something coming up for the US. So I guess we'll have to wait and find out what exactly that is. And yeah, thank you for listening.